Yes. Good morning, Vesna.
Good morning, Captain.
How are you?
You're on live with State Representative Colleen Gary and Camera Kay on City Life. So just want to let you know you're on live.
You are on live.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Lowell.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Vesna is calling from the state of Connecticut.
Oh, great.
He is currently working for the state. I forgot to ask you what capacity. However, a little bit of background of Vesna Ruan. He spent, correct me if I'm wrong there, Sarge, he spent about 9 years fighting overseas, started with Bosnia and ended up in Afghanistan, I presume?
10 years in the United States Army, 16 months in Afghanistan, and about 8 months in Bosnia.
Well, thank you for your service.
It was an honor.
So Vesna and we connected last year at one of the Asian American Pacific Islander that was hosted by the Thai Post. USA here in the city of Lowell. The first time I saw him walking into, it was funny, the first time I saw him walking into the event, the first thing I said, oh my goodness, look at that hair bag. His hair regulation was just a tad longer. So I approached him and it's like, I thought he was on active duty, but as closer I approached to him, I realized I think this guy has probably been retired. Otherwise, that hair has got to go. I spent.
Yeah, true.
I spent 8 years in Georgia as an auxiliary force in the United States in the Georgia Auxiliary Guard, supporting both of the National and Air Guard, and I got out of there with the rank of a captain.
Great.
And so I do not like to talk about it because my service in uniform compared to these guys have been overseas and putting their lives in protecting and providing the very security blankets to all of those who could not be able to afford for their own freedom. So for me, I'm just a little tiny guy, but those guys, their contribution and their effort into the freedom
Absolutely.
that provided to the Iraqis and Middle Easterns and all of those all over the world, they deserve more applaud than I do. I'm just the guy that's sitting behind the desk and writing paper all day long, right? You have anything?
Vesna, what did you do in Bosnia?
Well, first I want to say to Cam, and especially to a lot of viewers watching and you guys, is that we all serve in different capacities. Don't feel that anyone is worth less or more than the other. Everyone does their part. Civilians and citizens alike, and those with other job skills in the military. What I did in Bosnia was we went there as part of S410, Operation Joint Forge, and Operation Eagle Watch. So we were there conducting peacekeeping missions. As you know, in the mid-'90s, the Balkans was going through, the Bosnian War was happening in the Balkans. And we saw that with Serbia, Sarajevo, Croatia, and Bosnia. So it was a security and stability operations is what we were doing.
Well, again, thank you very much. We appreciate your service very much. What are you doing now?
I work in state government. I work in labor relations with the Labor Department. So my specific job is really dealing with veterans' career development.
Oh, good.
And it's a great job. It's a great career. It's good. It keeps me in touch with the military. Keeps me in touch with the veterans, so I don't stay too far from home. And it puts me working directly also with the business community, and really just bettering the labor force and the economic development in Connecticut.
That's great. I know that there are so many out there that need to find jobs, so many veterans who are looking for something, and to have that kind of person that they can, reach out to, an agency, and I know that we're trying to do that in Massachusetts as well. What are the areas that you find that are most willing to take veterans on?
There are actually needs a lot of training institutions. But as far as the labor market goes, a lot of places love to have veterans. However, there's a catch-22. As you can see, being in New England, our labor, our labor and business has a little bit more of a requirement or eligibility requirement in order to get into some of these companies. They do a good amount of them do require a college degree, and as you know, a lot of veterans, especially those under 24, those between 18 and 24 years old coming out, don't have that college degree. And what they do is as soon as they get off active duty, they'll go straight to school. I wish more of them would go to school, but a good amount of them do go to school to get that education, which is why you do see in the unemployment numbers that the amount is higher with veterans from 18 to 24. A little bit misleading because they're in school, but as far as the economic, the job market goes, a good amount of them do want veterans for the most part.
Great.
And we do help and facilitate the job development for these veterans who do want to get into these career fields. Other times we can talk with the employer and get them to consider other experiences in place of college education, and a lot of them do for the most part, and it works out.
That's great.
That's great.
I actually have a cable show of my own, and I had a woman who works with the VA on suicide prevention, and one of the good things that she's told me is the suicide rate with veterans has gone down. I know we had heard about 22 veterans a day were committing suicide, and that was a really, I guess the VA has really concentrated on that, and the numbers are going down. So rightfully so, some emphasis is being put on our returning veterans and helping them with that. So so congratulations for the work that you're doing to help them get reemployed and get into good paying jobs. I appreciate that.
It's another honor, another pleasure to be still working with veterans to this capacity.
Cool. Well, Vesna, the reason why we have you on the phone here, about a month ago we had a miscommunication and you did not have the opportunity to come online to discuss that. Being part of you working with the veterans, you're also very active in the Cambodian community. Your organization is known as Cambodia America Alliance. It's a nonprofit organization. It's a political activist. Forgive me if I use that improperly on that. And when President Obama hosted Asian bloc, it stands for what does ASEAN stands for? Asia Association of Southeast Asian Nations. That was hosted in California, and out of nine nations that attended, one of them is only a Democratic elected per se, and the rest of them were democratically elected, but they've been in power for so long, they became known as dictators, autocrat, authoritarians, and so forth. There were tremendous of various nations were out there protesting with various sitting governments that were attending with the president, and the president invited that trade bloc nation known as ASEAN in order to promote his Trans-Pacific Partnership trade agreement in Asia. And some of the Asian countries that people were looking at, even the AFL-CIO came out against TPP, which is the trade partnership in the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement for that, because it is going to take a lot of jobs from America, and then the unfair trade that the favored status to give it to these nations to be able to import those products without any tariff and quotas from them. They can ship, I don't know, let's say car from Vietnam and Cambodia normally would be restricted to Japan or some other manufacturers in the world to, let's say, $100,000 cars a year, where those nations there's no limit of any of those cars. And there was a lot of concern on that, and the most of the concern that there were a lot of protests regarding to that were not so much about a trade. There was it was a signal or communication that they wanted to send out to the world that these current leaders that were in that trade bloc became much more of a repressive government, and the human right violations, as you could see, that the gentle lady that won the election at Myanmar, forgive me, I can't remember her name, her party won the election, but the military junta refused to have her to be the leader of the country because she married to a British gentleman with 2 children, because they said once you're married into another culture, you are no longer the citizen of the country. And so there was a lot of protesting on that, including the...
Male and female?
I'm sorry?
Is that for both male and female?
I do not know. That's what they prevent her from doing so. I'm
So
sure.
roles were reversed, okay? If she were male, and she married, and he married a British woman with the same blood.
Right. There was no other situation, so I do not know what they would have thought of to your answer. But so Visna and the Cambodia American Alliance, or otherwise known as CAA, were one of the instrument organizations that helped organize the protests. The number in 1,000, I believe, that came out for that. So I don't want to steal the thunder from Visna. And I just want to give the introduction of where his backgrounds and what the whole protests were about. And then if we have a little bit more time, we can lead into a low politics of what is coming up in next month.
When Vesna's done, I'm going to go to a break. I got to close this because you guys are melting into the sunshine. I promise.
Okay, sounds excellent. Visna, would you mind go ahead and tell the audience what I just gave you
Yeah, no, not a problem. We are thankful that the AFL-CIO, which is the biggest labor union in the country, probably if not the world, did make a statement against TPP. They made a statement in regards to human rights, specifically slave labor and human trafficking. So we were really happy to see that. When the ASEAN nation is an Asian trading bloc, who are not happy, the good majority of the members are not happy with the decision that Prime Minister made during Cambodia's chairmanship. They switch chairmanships on and off, they rotate chairmanships, and during Cambodia's chairmanship, they refused to take a stand against Chinese intervention into the South China Sea. You see what's going on with China taking over the waters in Asia, and has a lot of countries rattled and unhappy about it. Even America is not too happy about it, and the Vietnamese and Malaysia are asking for U.S. intervention into this matter. Cambodia had an opportunity to address it because they held a chairmanship in 2014, I believe, but they refused to. The Prime Minister is trying to play one of his own games in order to maintain balance or neutrality in Asia without forgetting and realizing his obligation to the ASEAN trading bloc. The Cambodian American Alliance is a political action group. We can say it's a political action group. We are a 501c4 organization. We do a lot of active community and political activism. The reason why we exist and why we came about was because we recognize there's really no apparatus for the Cambodian community. The best example I can use for this is TPP, because the biggest benefactor to TPP is Vietnam, and I'm pretty sure a very good reason that TPP was allowed to be introduced and pushed forward, being pushed forward, meaning being supported by by American citizens, is because of the Vietnamese caucus, which has about 55 members, 55 congressmen and senators part of this caucus, who pushes the Vietnam's agenda and interest. And this is something Cambodia America recognizes, and something that we're working on with to create a Cambodian caucus. That's something we're working on diligently right now at the moment, along with the Cambodian Contact Group. But we are one of the organizations that organize. I think we are the leading organization. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We are the leading organization that organized the demonstration at the Sunnylands in Rancho Mirage, California, during the ASEAN Summit. Leading up to this demonstration, we've met with legislators and the State Department down in D.C. There were some concerns, some issues, and we want to let them know that we will be leading this demonstration. One of the biggest concerns and issue is the harassment and intimidation tactics being used on American citizens by a foreign state. Prime Minister Hun Sen threatened American citizens here that if they were going to demonstrate and protest his first official visit, which we are very proud of, which is the Cambodian communities in America are very proud of the fact that we tainted his first official visit to the U.S., he threatened a counter-protest where violence is imminent. We all saw what happened in October when his security apparatus, his third hand, his private military, dressed in civilian clothing, attacked, violently and brutally attacked two lawmakers. Now, I want you to picture that happening in America.
We're going to have to ask him to wrap it up because we're going to go to break.
Okay, Vesna, you have to wrap it up a little. We're going to go on a break soon. But in terms of those security issues, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to address the letter that those, 10 U.S. senators wrote to the current Cambodian government?
Yes. Yes. When our organization went live in October, we engaged Congress to get more involved. And what they did was they issued their first letter denouncing and concerns to Prime Minister Hun Sen with the attack on the congressman and the deteriorating situation in Cambodia. And then we went to the Senate and drafting another letter, which led to the Sunnylands demonstration. So the Senate, we have members over the U.S. Senate who drafted a similar letter to Congress denouncing these violent actions and deteriorating situation, and really have really put some muscle behind our demonstration that was going to happen in February.
Right. So, and appreciate it for all the update and educating some of our viewers who are not familiar with the current situations, the human rights violations in the Southeast Asian countries, specifically for the bias reason we can speak into the Cambodian community here. So,
Great. Thank you very much. We appreciate you calling in and being a guest this morning.
So appreciate it, Sarge, and look forward to talk to you more often.
Oh, are we done?
Yes, sir.
I thought we were going to talk about Lowell.
No, we can continue that conversation a little bit more. So definitely we'll get more opportunity before next month. Okay.
Oh, great. Yeah. No, not a problem. Thank you for having me, guys.
Alrighty.
Thanks.
Have a
Take
good
care.
morning.
I guess we're going to go to a break.
You too.
We'll be back. Thanks.
Spring is in the air, and there's something special hatching at Discount Tire Direct. Hear it? It's the Chicken Little Choir.
Jeep, 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 Jeep.
So spring into savings with cheap prices on tires and wheels. Right now, you can save $100 on any set of wheels, plus $70 on select sets of tires. Save even more when you buy with Discount Tire Credit. Up to $230 in total savings possible. Discount Tire Direct.
Come, my little sunlight, I'll tell you what we'll do. Undress yourself, get into bed, and a tale I'll tell to you.
So we're back, and the last half hour of the show, it goes by very quickly. We were just talking a little bit about your own personal experiences in Cambodia and getting out. And how old were you at that point?
Probably when I first got out in 1979, barely 10 years old.
And your dad just said, we're going.
Yeah, we're going, looking for a better life for the family, anywhere better than living in an urban area when the security was not there. It was just like, it was out of line. I mean, the lawlessness and everywhere. And that's why my parents, or my father, both of my parents, decided, like, okay, everybody, let's go. There were total 9 of us. Was it 9? Let me see, my sibling is 5, plus my parents, it's 7, right?
Yeah.
Plus my grandfather and my aunt. What's 7 plus 2? 9, yes.
Wow. And how old was your grandfather at that point?
My goodness, he was well in his 70s. No, couldn't be in 70 because he passed away in the late 90s at the age of 80 something. So he's probably in his late 60s.
And you said you walked for about a week to get out.
To get out along the way, and I remember with most of them, for those who have a better memory than I am, who are older than I am, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we got to, when we first got into into Thailand, the American Red Cross already set up a camp for the refugee that came in. So we stayed there for quite some time before we got packed up and being sent out. I thought that they were going to move us during that time into another camp or somewhere. Little did we know, it was like in the middle of the night. Little did we know that the next morning come and the bus like stopped in the middle of somewhere, and there's along the road in the side of the mountain, and then, excuse me, the valley that's going down like this, there's like said, okay, everybody get out. And the Thai military uniform with their weapons already drawn, they came up and said, all right, everybody get out, get out, get out, get out. We grab as much as possible. They said, all right, everybody's going through down there. They were rushing us through, they're firing shot up. So knowingly by that time, I think my father and everybody realized that we're not going anywhere to any other different camp. I remember that one time when we kept going down like this, we heard some shot, and my father pulled my brother and I, my younger brother and I, to the side. And the next thing I knew, there was a little girl, probably about my age, got her head blown out, and her body rolling down. That I still remember that experience to this day. And then after that, it took us about a week. I could have sworn that probably less than 30, less than 50 yards just to get out from that ridge of the mountain to the other side. And then there was a creek along the way where water can be obtained, but we could not be able to get there to get the water because the whole area was massively with landmines, because we were told that do not step out of the footprints that have already been paid for us and all of them. I could say I'm wrong in about a week, because I don't think we were there for a week. It was probably about a day or so, because
It just seemed like a week.
it seemed, as a young lad, I think anything was like beyond the imaginations. So it took our family to come back from the Cambodian-Thai border back into the urban area. It was quite a travel, quite a journey. My father seems being the oldest, and we were all in our young ages. We couldn't help him carrying the load of food and supply and water and so forth. I remember that, you know, a glass of hand of rice this much to feed a family of 9. So we're making it soup out of that. And the thing that we can be able to find was bamboo shoots were readily available everywhere. We just thinly slice it and mix it. And we were just eating along with all of that. And so we came back to town. I don't know how long we were in Cambodia before my parents decided to go back to the Thai-Cambodian border, hopeful for a better life. When we got to those refugee camps, and now that I'm looking back and checking out the histories, there was like at least 500,000 people plus living along the Thai-Cambodian border. And so the journey just kept coming, and then they move us from one camp into the inside of the Thai camp, into Thailand, to establish a camp known as Khao I Dang, or KID, or KID for short. For those who remember, ever watched the movie The Killing Fields, that way back in the 1980, and that at the end of that movie there was a camp. That was the exact camp that most of us stayed there, and from that camp, with various charitable organizations and so forth that that sponsored a lot of refugees to come to the United States or any other countries. So we were fortunate to come to the United States for all of that, and we arrived here, you know, going through various refugee camps and so forth. Among all of us have that experience along the way. And our family got here in spring of 1982, landed in Richmond, Virginia. So it is a long journey. I'm sure the representatives of the Radimum, he and his family may experience the same.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why when people are talking about they love communisms and dictatorships and all of that, and when I see the Bernie Sanders movement with the socialistic ideology, we're taking a lot of money. I think the last time I heard he said something about 70% of income that he's going to tax on people to support his social services and all of that. The idea may seem great, but what happens when you run out of other people's money?
Right.
You're going to go falter the other way. But I think that the beauty of living in America is the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, which is hold true to every citizen of the United States, that is so dearly ingrained in our lives that we should not take that creed that was been written in the United States preamble, the Bill of Rights, for granted. And
I wanted, you know, it seems like a lot of the veterans who go through a difficult time don't like to talk about it. Do refugees talk about their experience freely with, say, their children?
no, to be honest with you, I know I don't talk about it with my children.
No. How old are your children?
My oldest stepdaughter, she's 32. I think it's her birthday this week. Can you believe that? My youngest daughter is 16. She's going 17 this year.
Wow.
And my middle son is 27. And he and his girlfriend had a child.
Oh, great.
So I am a grandfather.
Wow. What do we call you for a grandfather?
You can
Papa? Grandpa?
Grandpa or Tata or any of
Tata.
those. I think it's probably the awesome thing to have.
Yeah.
Because, you know, my children, they never communicate with me through either text message or anything unless they need me. My stepdaughter, like a couple of days ago, just like said, you know, I'm going up to New York and you want to come down and spend time with us? And said, what for? She said, well, it's her birthday. I said, okay, that's great. She said, oh, by the way, can you get me a ticket? She said, ticket to see The Lion King. And I said, well, okay, it's your birthday. I'll do that. And then she said, oh, by the way, can you get 2 tickets for us? And I said, when did the 2 tickets come in? And so I got all of that. She said, oh, you're the greatest dad in the world. I said, really? Really? For the whole year, I didn't hardly get any text or any complimentary. It's just typical children to say that. It's a laughable
I have
thing.
twin nieces who are 17, and,
Right.
and I used to be the cool auntie, and And, you know, they were constantly talking to me, and now it's like, okay, I send them a text and I wait and I wait. They're very busy, so.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a teenage thing.
Right, and you know, even my daughter is like, it's like, hi, how are you? Hi. Anything else you like to say? Hello. It's like, oh my goodness, it's just like, you're right. I think it's the fallacy of me, and I don't think our children that are born in the United States have begun to understand or know where we came from. Is it a lack of education? I think so, and I think, is it our fault, my wife's fault for not talking about it? Yes, definitely. I don't think they're beginning to appreciate where we came from. It's not a fault of their own. It's our fault that we're not letting them know. I think it's the same thing here in the city of Lowell. A lot of students, a lot of kids that were born here in the city of Lowell do not appreciate, or maybe they don't know.
Right.
I think it's
I'm just thinking the passion that you come away with when you speak about what you've been through and your love for country now, for our country. You know, I think it would be beneficial to the younger folks to realize what you went through and how fortunate they are in their life to not have had to go through that, and that the reality of what's still going on over in Cambodia. I think it's an important thing, and I think that it's true. A lot of us don't share enough about the history. My grandfather came over from Ireland, and he was a member of the IRA, and